Hi, I'm John with Tenkara USA. I've been managing our repair department for about the last 6 years, and I'm always surprised at how many rods come back to us because they were opened or closed out of sequence, so we just want to go over that with you real quickly. Basically, anytime you open a Tenkara rod, you always want to start at the Lillian, and after you've attached your line, you want to extend the rod starting with the tip section and then work your way towards the handle. Once the rod's open and you want to close it, it's the same thing in reverse. You always want to start with the section right above the handle, or in the case of the Sato, Roto, and Ito, you want to start with the section above the handle assembly, and then close that in sequence as well. If you do that, you should never have any problems with the sections falling in and getting stuck side by side and jammed into where you have two smaller sections jammed inside a larger section. If the sections do get stuck or something isn't working, basically what you need to do is make sure that the plug is back on the rod, and then unscrew your screw cap and take the sections out of the rod individually, and I like to lay them out in order, probably on a towel or something so they won't roll around. Make sure they're all going the right direction and then reinsert them in the rod in sequence. If you do open or close the rod out of sequence and sections do get jammed inside the rod, don't try and force it closed. Just take off the screw cap, pull out the sections and get them in order. Make sure that they're unstuck. As long as you don't jam it together, you should be able to get any side-by-side sections pulled apart just by your hands. This is a little tip to help you close a rod that's sticking a bit to avoid breakage, so you don't put side pressure on the sections and break one. When I close the rod, I like to keep my hands really close together, but even better is to use one hand. I put my bottom 3 fingers along the bottom section, and I basically am closing the rod with my index finger and thumb. Most of the time, even with a really stuck rod, I can still close it with one hand. If it is a little bit bad and I can't get it that way, I'll just put my left hand right above that, and that'll give me really, really good leverage on that rod to close it. And I don't put hardly any side pressure. It's never had one break like this. Sometimes when you're closing a Tenkara rod, you might have a problem with the tip sections falling down into the blank, which this has done. If that happens and you feel sections that are jammed in there, just take the screw cap off the bottom of the handle, remove the sections, and then replace them in sequence. Just never try and jam the rod closed or force it closed if you're feeling some sort of obvious resistance. One thing we see quite often is Tenkara rods with segments reversed inside the rod. If they get jammed in that way, it's very, very difficult to repair. Just keep in mind anytime you take a Tenkara rod apart or put it back together that it is tapered. All the segments are tapered and can only go one way in the rod. You always want to make sure that the unfinished section is to the back of the rod, and you should have no problems. If you do notice any kind of jamming or anything like that, when you slide a segment in, don't force it. It should go through easy. If it doesn't, take it out and make sure that it's going the right way. Just remember that the most common cause of breakage is breaking the tip when setting up the line. To avoid that, just make sure that you keep all the graphite protected down inside the handle with your thumb over the top of it. Only tie onto the fabric part of the Lillian. Do the same thing in reverse when you take the line off of the Lillian at the end of the day.
If anything happens to your Tenkara USA rod, simply call or email the Tenkara USA team and somebody will take care of you.